What's up, everybody? Brett here, back today. It's Friday, so you know what that means. It's time for another dev blog for Battle Brothers. Guys, it's called More Smaller Things, but I kind of scrolled down and it looks like there's actually a lot of information in this, and I can't wait to get to it. So, even though the corona situation has been and still is negatively affecting our schedule, we're making steady progress every week. There are signs of normalcy on the horizon regarding the reopening of schools and daycare. So here's hoping our productivity will soon normalize again. Tell me about it. My kids have been out of school. They got out of school very early while I was still in school myself. And my wife wasn't even in the state for like half that time. So I was trying to do all of my crazy homework. And my kids are home. They're still home. Summer vacation now. And I'm about to start my summer semester. And same deal. It's the same deal, guys. I feel so much for these guys. I don't know how you're supposed to do anything when your kids are around. It saps the will. So yeah, hopefully it's not slowing down the production time too much, basically, is all I'm saying. In the meantime, we'll take another look at several smaller additions coming with the next update. Read on. For me, it's like take as much time as you need. I'm excited to get this DLC, but I'd rather have it at the standard high quality of the last several DLCs. If it means just waiting a little bit longer, I'm okay with that. So, a small thing here, but a really sweet looking banner. As a thank you for your continued patience, and because having a guiding light in dark times seems fitting, we'll include a new player banner in the free 1.4 update. Hooray. So, it looks great, and it looks really great on shields. Very cool. Yeah, this is an amazing banner. I can't wait to use this. Very kind of Crusader-y themed. So if you're playing, I guess, as a more like Southern Realms starting, then you probably won't want to use this banner. But it looks like there's like acid rain falling out of the sky. Just because it's green. I mean, it's probably meant to be regular rain. But he's literally a Crusader standing on a pile of skulls. Pretty intense banner there. Alright, more champions. This is the more substantive stuff we're going to get into right about now. So, the Blazing Deserts DLC will introduce a variety of new human opponents. Several of these you can also face as more dangerous champions, like famed gladiators, nomad princes, and southern officers of great renown. The screenshot below showcases some of the new named gear that these guys may carry. We've also made more existing opponents into champions. For example, if you ever wanted to fight particularly powerful necromancer with an illustrious name like the Puppeteer or the King of Worms, who is carrying unique loot, you'll soon be able to. And if you hire the Bounty Hunter as part of your retinue of non-combat followers, you can earn additional bounties for hunting down champions such as these and find them more easily and more frequently. So, alright, let's first things first, let's open this image in a new tab so we can take a look at it alone here and kind of single out. So right off the bat, I recognize this weapon. This is a classic spear. So I'm assuming these three guys are gladiators. I would have assumed this guy was the prince they were referring to, but it's hard to tell when everyone is so like decked out. And that these would be the officers in like heavy armor. I'm very curious what the rates on the gladiator armor will be, because as you can see, it doesn't cover his chest. It's just like the shoulder guards that they're kind of famous for. But their helmets look intense. These might be some like really powerful helmets with like some really weak armor. And the weapons are pretty damn strong too. Obviously, this is the Shamshir. I'm having trouble recalling what the actual name of this dagger is, and this to me, this is like a very Chinese design, is it not? Like, totally correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure they did their research here. But whenever I've ever seen in any type of movie, and that's probably the main source of my information for this, where you see like the three heavy like rings placed into the backside of the blade, it's almost always like Chinese origin. I'd totally be wrong on that. That might not be where it comes from, but that's just where I've always seen it. Let's see, what else do we have? We have this cool, like, leopard, like, pelt that this dude is wrapped in. It might not be part of the armor. It might be part of, this has got to be hyena, right? Like, that would make sense. So there might be, I'm speculating here because I don't know. they might be giving us a glimpse of what the hyena armor add-on looks like. And we were talking about it in some of the comments in the last video about what the hyena pelt might actually do when attached to your armor. I would be interested in seeing it like in the same way that the lindworm scales prevent you from getting poisoned by lindworms, or that acid really, affecting you. I think it would be cool if, since the hyenas are very bleed focused, if it prevented you from bleed from all sources. That would be pretty cool as well. Not perhaps the most useful, but having an entire army, you could have an entire army if you had enough. Make them all invulnerable to bleed. I mean, that's not useless. I mean, that's pretty cool. Curious where they'll take that. Maybe a small like missile damage reduction, something like that. I don't know. But the shields look awesome. I'm a big fan of the crimson, the red, and the gold. I think that's a really sweet color scheme. And he's got this unique Shamshir as well with this undoubtedly unique helmet. Looks like a total badass. So even cooler than that is what they've said here is that they're expanding the list of units that will have champion versions. So who knows what type of cool gear a champion necromancer will drop. No idea. I mean, they use relatively low tier gear. Maybe they'll just have a unique weapon. They have some of the coolest like outfits in the game. They have the hat and the chest piece, but they're so low tier that like you can't even use them. They're not usable for anything. It'd be cool to give them some sort of like high tier stuff that you can use. Curious what other units they'll also include in that, because to my knowledge right now, most of the higher tier stuff that you can run across in the world, I mean, they even have goblins. They have goblins. They've got orc warrior champions, orc war boss champions. Hedge knights, I mean, are a big one. Huh. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what leader type. Maybe it's just more undead. Maybe there's like a Geist champion. That would be intense. Takes extra hits to kill her, something like that. I don't know. Maybe like a spider champion. That would be interesting. Just a giant web neck. Unhold champion. Oh god, don't even. Not unhold champion. When you start getting into like the monstrous units, it starts getting a lot more interesting. You could have like a direwolf, a giant direwolf champion, or a hyena champ. I don't know. I could see you doing a lot of stuff. It's just like when you get into the monsters, it's like what loot are they dropping? But they've also kind of give you a peek at the bounty hunter. So one of my biggest complaints, and I've always felt like this was mostly a bug, in all of my recent Let's Plays that I did, I got nothing. I got no treasure. No unique items. I played a lot of them up until like turn 60 or 70 without getting a single unique item, which is, I can tell you, honestly rare. I also never saw a champion, and I know champions tend to spawn in the later portions of the game. I want to say after turn 100, something like that. But I would prefer it if they spawned earlier, but in not weaker forms. But like the goblin champions, for example, you could almost put them in like a tier list. Make it so that you start seeing kind of like the goblin champions a little earlier, maybe. Something like that. Or they appear at first in smaller groups. You know, instead of the only way you can fight a champion is in like a goblin city, like a 30 goblin fight, and then there's a champion on top, which is like, you can't do that until super late game when it's still fun, obviously, but it's not as much fun as like coming across a raiding party of goblins with like one champion, or a small group of raiders, and then there's, holy crap, there's a hedge knight in there. It's like 10 guys and a hedge knight champion. Maybe my mid game squad can take them down without getting wrecked. That sort of thing is, to me, I don't want to add more. That's a poor way to phrase this. I don't want to just add more flavor to the late game. If there's a potential to take a mechanic and add variety and these kind of mini boss fights into the early and mid game, as well as the late game, to me that's the ideal way to do that. Instead of just parsing it so that it's the only time you fight champions is in the late game. Like, that's why. Make it so that you can fight them all the time. And I think, honestly, the rare loot spawn and the champion spawn might be a bit undertuned. And people have told me that there's a mod or two that increases it. But I went and checked it out, and it seemed like it increased it like almost too much from what I was seeing. But maybe it's been tweaked since the last time I looked. Who knows? But anyway, guys, very cool armor, very cool weapons, and excellent mechanics, as well as the non-combat followers, who we've talked about a bit. We know some of them as of right now. The Bounty Hunter, I think, is a new drop for us, so new bits of information. And then let's see, new treasure items. So in order to make fighting beasts, and particularly those of the powerful and dangerous variety, more rewarding, we're introducing additional new treasure items. These are not for crafting, but only for selling. So nice. No pressure to hold on to this. For example, a hex may now leave you a valuable jade brooch as you hasten her departure from this world, while an unhold may have crushed and mashed any valuables they could find into a handy twisted ball which you can loot and sell. That is hilarious and flavorful. Unhold's like, what's all this shiny stuff? And just smashes it into a ball so you can kick it around. Very cool. So I'm assuming this is from the Ifrit, right? It's a big chunk of rock. It looks like it has some gold in it. Multicolored scales, or these actually look like teeth. Huh. What unit would have teeth like this? It almost looks like a shark tooth. Interesting. It looks kind of like a scale, kind of like a tooth. This like top part here. Like I have a megalodon tooth somewhere around here in my office somewhere. And it's got like a bit like this. This to me screams like Alps. Them and their darkness stuff. What is this? These are like bloody pearls. Very creepy. I don't know what this is from. Maybe the Kraken? Like, very weird. Maybe Lindworm here. Maybe Kraken here. Just my best guesses. But that's great. I've often taken fights with Hexen. Or, let me rephrase that another way. There is very little incentive in the early and mid game to take on fights with highly dangerous opponents. So when I was doing my playthroughs, what I was noticing was, it's like, well, I want to make this exciting. I want to take fights with different stuff every episode. I could just sit here and fight bandits and bandits and raiders and low tier undead and low tier orcs for like 150 turns. I could do that over and over again. But the most fun way to play is to get the unit diversity. But there's no incentive to take down a Lindworm early. There's no incentive to try and take down an Unhold early. And of course, certain things are late game. You're not even supposed to try. But certain other stuff, like Hexen, you'll find a Hex walking around with like 6 direwolves. It'll be like 2 Hex and 6 direwolves, right? That's not really that hard of a fight if things go your way. If you get kind of the luck of the draw, they don't enchant one of your boys. He doesn't turn around instantly with a great sword and like chop your other brother in half. Like, that fight can go pretty easy, especially if you have war bows and such. Like just long range, you have bowmasters, you can snipe them pretty easy, is what I'm trying to say. So the risk was always there that you could just easily lose a brother through no fault of your own, while the reward for it might have been like some kind of honestly lame hex and crafting materials and like some direwolf pelts. That was like the best you could hope to get. And most of which, at some point in the game, once you've already got armor attachments and stuff, you're just selling. So you're taking these fights for very little reward. Alps as well, same thing. Fighting them is very risky and difficult. Unhold, same deal. I'm sure the Ifrits will be the same. And I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on what these two might be. But maybe Kraken, maybe Lindworm, like dragon teeth or something. And then the bloody pearls could be perhaps from the Kraken. Perhaps. I think already, though, the Lindworm drops like treasure hoards, which is one of the rarer forms of treasure that you can get. So, man, why am I drawing a blank? I feel like I'm looking at a rainbow tooth and I should know what that goes to, but I just don't. Okay, new settlement situations is the last bit here. So the southern city-states come with a selection of their own settlement situations. For example, a city may hold slave auctions, which significantly increases the availability of slaves. Sandstorms may temporarily limit the availability of goods transported by caravans, and bread and games will mean lots of activity in the local arena and increased availability of gladiators for hire. So that's pretty cool. Bread and games. Okay. Other situations like slave revolts are directly linked to contracts, and completing them will resolve the situation in the city, and in this case, make slaves available again for purchase. Wonder what happens if you let the slaves win. So, northern settlements also get a few new situations, mostly to do with trade. A ceremonial season in a northern town with a temple means increased prices for incense, and thus lucrative trading opportunity. Incense being a new item that we've seen. Finally, tavern rumors now also include hints of settlement situations of nearby villages and towns, and less flavor responses. That's good. Nothing felt worse than spending like 100 crowns to find out that some guy had a brother somewhere. It's like, what? It's like, just tell me something useful. Why couldn't every response be useful in some degree? So you get a better idea of trading, recruiting, and work opportunities nearby. That's not saying that it'll always be useful information, but at least it won't be useless information. For example, if you're set on hunting unholds to wear their furs as cloaks, tavern rumors can now point you to villages where the giant creatures have been sighted. That is a great quality of life change. Once again, I always talk about things from the perspective of new players. So you're a new player, right? You've never interacted with any of the buildings before, any of the taverns, and you go into a town for the first time, and you're like, oh, this guy wants 80 crowns in exchange for information. You give him the 80 crowns. Say you give them your brothers get drunk a little bit. You're like, okay, that was fun, but like, I don't really want my brothers to get drunk, and they're already in a good mood. So like, I don't really need the tavern. Then you're like, okay, I'll pay this guy to give me a rumor, and his rumor ends up being that his uncle once served in the military with some dude. And you're just like, okay, well, that was weird. That was 80 crowns wasted. And you do it again. Then he's like, I heard a story about a story. And he's like, what? And next thing you know, you've done it 3 times and you've gotten no good information. And then you're a new player and you're just like, well, never doing that again. And maybe you don't even learn the mechanic that in certain points in the game, he can tell you where famed loot might be, or at least give you a general idea. Now, there's something to be said for when you're in the mid to late game and your army is strong enough, you can kind of just set out to any location you want and crush it. And you don't even necessarily need the tavern to tell you to go and do that, because you're already probably doing that. You don't need them to be like, oh, in the northeast there's I heard tale of a sacred loot, and you're just like, oh, well, I was already going there and I'm going to crush that place anyway. But it just wasn't new player friendly. Now I think when a new player goes and interacts with that, they'll understand instantly, okay, this is a place where I get information. Maybe once in a while they give me some useless information, but for the most part they're going to tell me stuff that perhaps I want to know. And I'm curious if they'll tweak the costs at all, just to make it even more incentivize it even more to make use of that mechanic. I think would be cool. But guys, that's going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I'm Brett, and my channel is Goodtalk Gaming. If you're new here, I would appreciate if you consider subscribing. Leave a comment down below if you have your own opinions on some of the things that I've said. I don't really ask for subscribers a lot, but I'm so close to my 600 goal right now that I can like taste it. I've been bouncing back and forth for a little while now, gaining and losing subscribers, which can be a huge not going to say a devastating blow or anything, but it doesn't feel good when you're so close to a goal and you just can't quite get there. It's like, let me just hurry up and get to 600 so I can focus on the next goal, 700. I take it like 100 at a time in my mind. I'm not trying to get 1,000 subscribers at a time. That would be unrealistic. But like I said, I never really asked for that sort of thing. But if you're watching, if you've been lurking for a long time, if you're only on my channel for Battle Brothers content, that's cool. I will be making some pretty damn in-depth videos, in-depth playthroughs when this DLC finally drops. But until then, I play lots of other tactical games, indie games, fantasy games, stuff that really interests me. For the most part, it's either got to have really fun and deep mechanics, or a great story. That's kind of what hooks me the most. So, all right, guys, that's going to be it for me today. Take care. I'm Brett, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one, y'all. Take care. Guys, it's early in the morning for me. I'm recording first thing. I haven't eaten breakfast yet, and I feel like I'm just repeating myself and rambling. So, for the last time, third time, take care. See you guys.